Hey, horror and sci-fi fans, Drew here from Horror, Sci-Fi, and Beyond, and we with another guest, my friend from high school and one of my coworkers at Staples. We got Mr. Tanner Meyer. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I very much appreciate it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I definitely want some more guests. It isn't like Eric or Bradley or my mom or.
Definitely, variety is the spice, as they say.
Yeah, and today we're doing something different. Before we've been doing like viewer polls. You select what movie we're gonna do, but today we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna be doing a horror musical because I know you're a big musical guy.
I am a big musical guy. I mean, everything from the mainstream musicals like Hamilton, Les Miserables to
I love
pretty
Les
much
Mis.
I'm a big fan of all musicals, and the musical we're talking about today is no exception. Big fan.
Yeah, and today, if you didn't know, I'm also a big fan of musical too. Probably not as big as you. I need to catch up on a lot of them. But we're going to be doing the 2007 version of Stephen Sondheim's Sweeney Todd, starring Johnny Depp and Helen Bonham Carter, Alan Rickman, and directed by Tim Burton.
Ooh, absolutely one of my personal favorites. I love it. It's such a good adaptation.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
okay,
so you like this? So you like this adaptation, right?
Oh, absolutely. It is one of my favorite adaptations of a classical theater production put onto a film. The way they do so many scenes is so creative. It's so fascinating. I love it.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of answered one of my questions. I was wondering because I know there's a lot of like theater people that are like really into theater that don't really like this version of the story.
Definitely.
But personally, I really liked it. Someone not super familiar with the stage musical or any other version, because there's been many different film versions, like TV versions. Like I think Ben Kingsley played Sweeney Todd at one point, which is crazy.
Yeah, no,
But
absolutely. There's lots of different versions of it, but this is a really good one in my opinion.
yeah, and you of course know the musical or the stage musical more. So this is kind of cool, like someone who knows the movie, not the stage one, but and then somebody that knows both.
Definitely. Yeah. I promise I won't talk too much about the stage play, but there are a few key differences which I think are super interesting in the way they choose to tell the story.
Right. So here's my question: did you know about, because since this is like a really old like story, it was kind of like a British like folklore of a barber from Front Street who would kill people. And there's actually is a Front Street in London that we drove past when I went there a couple of summers ago. And I kid you not, there's actually a barber shop called Sweeney Todd's.
Oh, that is so good. I would have to stop in there. I would have to stop, even if
I wouldn't. I would not. No, that would just freak me out.
I'd risk it. I'd be like, "Ooh, you got the straight razor."
Oh yeah. And so since this is an old story, did you know about Sweeney Todd before the Johnny Depp version?
I mean, I had heard of the theatrical stage play well before it, but 2007 is about right when I started to get into musicals. So okay. I think I see it right when it came out. I saw it a year or two later with my family, but it really was one of the first musicals which made me interested in musicals because, I mean, up until then, my entire exposure with musicals was Disney. And don't get me wrong, Disney shows are amazing. I love them. But there's so much more grit and emotion in Sweeney Todd compared to all of those that it really sparked my love. So I had not heard of the story before that version.
Yeah, I would have to say I'm more into like the more like epic, like musical, like Hunchback, Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis, Sweeney Todd.
To them.
I did not know about this like at all. I never heard of Sweeney Todd. I knew Tim Burton obviously and Johnny Depp from like the Pirates movies. Um, I remember there, and you're a little bit younger than me, but I don't know if you remember there was a mini series, like a sci-fi mini series about it was like a sci-fi version of The Wizard of Oz with Zoe Deschanel as Dorothy called The Tin Man. And
I have not seen that.
yeah, it's really good. We were actually required to watch it, or we got extra credit if we watched it in school because we were reading the book. I remember they kept showing like clips and like behind the scenes TV spots for this movie, and it used to freak me out. I'm like, why is Captain Jack Sparrow stabbing folks in the neck and like some of them or like then darting them in his basement? Like it used to freak me out. And before I got into like horror.
To be fair, it is completely reasonable to be a little disturbed because that's a quite disturbing thing.
Yeah, and I watched like Frankenstein, like the Wolfman. That's like tame compared to this. I remember like around this time, I watched like one weekend. I watched like Halloween H2O and like the first Scream,
Right.
which I was watching a little bit of on TV right before we came on. The famous intro with Drew Barrymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then the next weekend I watched Freddy versus Jason.
You did bring up a good point, though, that I was wondering if you could chime in on a little bit. One of the key issues I've seen people take with this production of Sweeney Todd is that they feel like they're just watching Johnny Depp play Johnny Depp, surrounded by knives and kooky hair. Like I do see that half of it. What do you think? Do you feel like it's just Jack Sparrow with a knife, or do you feel like he is really coming into that character with something unique? Because I can definitely see both sides of it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he is putting a little bit of that Captain Jack kind of swagger, when the way he moves his arms and the way he walks. It's different. I've seen like clips of like stage versions of this. It's definitely very different, but I think he comes in on his own. It's like any other character, like Batman or Sherlock Holmes or
definitely
whatever, like people or James Bond. Like people have their different interpretations of it. Like you have the goofy or George Clooney Batman or Adam West Batman, or you have like the more dark Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson Batman coming up.
Right.
Yeah, they're different, and I think it's based off like the actors, what the actor can bring or what the director wants to.
Definitely. And I do think a lot of that is, I mean, if you're Johnny Depp and you're in a Tim Burton film and Helena Bonham Carter's your co-star, like there's just a certain amount of Johnny Depp that's going to be pulled out of that character, regardless of like, even if they didn't have Johnny Depp as that character, I think you would have got a similar performance out of a lot of actors just because of the environment that they're in, It's so perfect for that character.
Yeah, and you can definitely tell with a lot of Tim Burton movies that he's influenced by like old German expressionistic films like Nosferatu and like Dr. Caligari, and he's also influenced by Hammer horror. If you don't know what Hammer is, they basically were a British company. They did a lot of different things, but they were most famous for like taking like the horror literature that Universal was doing, like Dracula and Frankenstein, and basically making it like a lot more hardcore with like they made it a lot more overtly sexual. They had a lot more blood and violence and very atmospheric. And Chris Lee was in a lot of those movies, so he's in a lot of Tim Burton movies as well.
Absolutely. I think atmospheric is really the perfect word to describe the entire ambiance of this movie because it's incredibly atmospheric.
Oh, and speaking of Christopher Lee, do you know what the original intro for this movie was supposed to be?
No.
It was supposed to open up on a graveyard or on a cemetery, and it was supposed to be like the ghosts of Sweeney's victims, and it was supposed to all like they're supposed to be singing like the Ballad of Sweeney Todd that you hear at the beginning of the stage musical.
Yeah. That's the stage.
It was going to be led by Christopher Lee.
Oh, that would have been phenomenal.
Yeah,
because that is one of the most interesting differences between the stage musical and the actual movie is that they choose different opening numbers effectively.
Well, I mean, they kind of do the Sweeney Todd
You kind of, but
ballad.
nowhere near as heavy. Like,
Yeah,
oh my God, the Ballad of Sweeney Todd in the stage production is telling you basically the entire story, like
yeah,
razor,
it's kind
like,
of like Song of the Dead,
yeah,
basically.
absolutely.
Yeah, they tell you the whole
Absolutely.
movie at the beginning of the movie.
And it's like, this is what's coming up. You better be ready.
But they do play that the motif or the musical part in that song when they all sing Twinger Blade Tweeney. So they play that as part of the music.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that constantly. That is the the Dios Irae.
Yeah, da
They
da 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 da
that is
da.
everywhere in the musical. Sondheim, when he made the musical, said, "Listen, if you just take a core structure of music, and that is just that basic little melody of Dios Irae, which is a famous piece throughout history, which is
Yeah, it's a musical
symbolic.
tone of death,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. It's the sound of death. And you just listen, if you take it, if you speed it up, if you double it, if you
Mm.
invert it, if you make it upside down, you can build an entire musical out of Dios Irae. And all of a sudden the entire musical just feels like death. And it's so incredible the way he does
Right.
that.
Well, and that's common in like movies or just scores in general. Like they'll take like a theme and then like you'll speed it up or they'll do different things with it. Like take like the Rocky theme, the bum 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 bum. You hear it like that, then that's like a triumph like train montage. You hear do 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 do. That's a sad moment in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
Yeah. So anyways, let's get to the breakdown of the movie.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so the movie kind of opens up on like a really cool like classic Tim Burton like intro, and it basically like the song Ballad of Sweeney Todd kind of tells you the story of the movie.
Mhm.
And like this little bloodstream just going down like into like the barber shop into like the pie shop and into the sewers. And I think it's really cool. It really gets you in that mindset
Oh yeah.
of this movie. And like we're
Sets the
just
perfect atmosphere.
yeah, and that's the thing that's the one thing that I don't like about movies is that like they don't have like a title sequence.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them don't because this audience are just impatient. I think like when I watch movies like I don't know like Psycho or like one of the Bond movies, like just watching that title sequence, it really gets me in the headspace of that movie.
Absolutely. It sets the tone of the entire film going forward, as opposed to just a cold open, which is way more abrupt.
Yeah, I mean I like cold opens. I think they have
There's a place for them.
yeah. So did you have any comments about the intro for this movie?
The intro of the movie is just, I think, an example of a masterclass in, like you were talking about, setting tone. I mean, it really does show, you start off with optimism and then immediately it comes in with pessimism and how dark and dreary everything is and how
Right.
you just look around and everything is gray and dim, and it is perfectly emblematic for the entire show.
Yeah, and it also has a very like storybook quality to it too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, with I think that's another thing that Tim Burton was kind of draws upon is like kind of like these dark, grim brothers fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
It. You look at a lot of these movies like Beetlejuice or Batman or Edward Scissorhands. There's a little bit of whimsy to it, a little bit of fun, but it's also like really dark and messed up stuff going on.
Quite grim.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Edward Scissorhands, if you really think about it, like it's a dark fairy tale that
It is
with other
definitely,
kids.
yeah, there's like body horror in it. Like there
Yeah,
are some definitely dark elements to it, but at the same
I mean, it
time,
opens up on a fairy tale. It opens
yeah,
up
absolutely.
on, I think it's Winona Ryder's character telling her son about the man with the scissors for hands. I haven't seen that movie in forever, but
Been a minute.
yeah. So then we get to the actual movie. We're introduced to our main character, Sweeney Todd, on a boat and he's returning from to London and and that's where we meet his character Anthony, which comes in play later in the movie, and then and then Anthony thinks about how great the world is. I've seen the wonders of the world, and nothing compares to London, and then there's a contract to that because Sweeney Todd's first line is There's a hole in the world like a great black pit, and the vermin of the world inhabit it. And its morals aren't worth what a pig can spit, and it goes by the name of London. I think this is an excellent just like contrast to this to what Anthony was saying.
Absolutely. And I think that's that's the first time you hear Sweeney Todd's madness motif, which is like that anytime you hear the like great white pit, that is Sweeney Todd's internal monologue saying this place is awful, these people are vermin. It's him going mad. So every time that the musical that happens, you start to realize it's building and building.
Oh boy, I cannot wait till we get to the song Epiphany, because that's his Johnny Depp at his absolute best.
That is also my favorite scene, which they adapted from like the stage play. The way they do that is so great. Yeah. But
I'm not even kidding. When Johnny Depp dies, and when you had like the tributes to him, that's going to be one of the clips that people show, because like that is I think that's what got him the Oscar nomination. That even though that didn't have a lot of merit in my opinion now. Another one I thought was pretty cool, and it kind of applies to the world. He says, at the top of the hole are the privileged few, and they're mocking the vermin in the lower zoo, which is interesting. That in this, there's a lot of class disparity in this movie, or not disparity, but a lot of commentary on class.
I mean, there is also a lot of like just disparagement in class in the entire movie. You have people at the upper echelon of class, with Alan Rickman and whatever, and then you have the lowest of the low of class, which are like beggars on the street. Like you definitely see a lot of the disparity in wealth inequality, and it's also really good commentary. I'm just saying, like the people on top are still trapped in the same game that everybody else is, and yet they're content to make fun of the people below them.
Right. So here's my question. What does Sweeney Todd mean by when he says when he describes like the poor people as being in the lower zoo? Like what does zoo have to do? What do you mean by that word?
I think when he's using the term zoo, he's talking about it as like a cage, right? When you're thinking of zoo, it's something that strips the freedom of wild animals so that they can be used as amusement. So basically he's describing the lower class people of London as basically pawns to be for the amusement of the wealthy. And I think
absolutely.
Incredibly well put.
Yeah, and this Stephen Sondheim, he wrote the actual lyrics to this, right?
Yeah, I think that's his genius. I think there was contribution from outside, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I just love this first part of the movie, or these first lyrics in the movie, because it really paints London as like a horrible place, just like New York in the 70s.
Like any major city, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of reminds me of that movie Taxi Driver, the Martin Scorsese movie, where it's just a terrible place. Like there's
absolutely just awful.
Yeah, there's like rampant prostitution everywhere. It's just like a disgusting place. Like there's sewer everywhere, or there's just trash everywhere. It is not a good place. And then I like how at the end of this, Todd says, "I've seen the world's wonders." Which I feel like it's kind of like a sarcastic, like response to Anthony.
Yeah, definitely. It is a dialogue they're having back and forth, and Anthony is like, "Yeah, it's great." No,
I've seen how bad the world can be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not saying the world all bad, but I mean,
he said he saw the wonders, He's like, it is all bad. Sweeney Todd is going crazy from the start of the movie. He's like, the whole world is awful, and he has his mind set on that. And no matter what anybody says, he's like, everybody's awful.
Right. But I also think I think he's a little stir crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
He's so blinded by he's so just blinded by like his revenge that he can't see the beauty in things anymore.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, with how crappy the world can be, like, there's some good in there. And I mean, I try to focus on the good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, we learned that that Todd used to be a really renowned barber named Benjamin Barker, and he was married and he had a daughter. And then this corrupt judge named Judge Turbin, played by the late great Alan Rickman, basically wrongly convicts Todd to be with his wife, which is really messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they show this all of this in like flashbacks, and which is interesting because the rest of the movie is kind of really dark and grungy, but the flashbacks are like really bright and airy and heavenly.
Absolutely. Definitely shows Sweeney, remembering the good times in contrast with what life is now.
Right. And then Todd, so at this point, Todd doesn't really know like the extent of what happened or like what really happened to his daughter and wife until he goes into the bakery, which was below his old barber shop, and he meets Mrs. Lovitz, played by Helena Bonham Carter. Now, and she's famous for making the worst pies in London. Now, let me ask you this. I've heard a lot of like people at the stage play complain about Bonham Carter, saying that it's too. I guess he's like he plays it too like broken or kind of like moody compared to Angela Lansbury, where she's like she's more cheery.
Yeah, more cheery, loving, that kind of thing, more supportive.
Right. Did you like Helen Bonham Carter in this movie?
I just love Helen Bonham Carter in pretty much every role. So every time I see her, I just love her. So I no matter what, even if she took it completely different, which I mean, there are a lot of similarities between her and the original like casting and the original way the character works, but she did make a lot of creative differences. And honestly, I think it works really well for the tone they're setting.
Right. I just think with Lansbury, I think with that kind of part, I think she was kind of subverting expectations.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, could you really think when you think of Angel Lansbury, like what are the two things you think of? You think of Murder She Wrote and Mrs. Potts and Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, yeah.
Yeah, and those are very kind of like grim motherly kind of roles, like very. But then she's like playing a baker, who's teaming up with this this murderous barber guy, and he's putting his victims in her pies.
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. I mean, it is absolution, a subversion of expectations. It's supposed to build you up to not expect the twist at the end, where this loving and doting character is
Right. So this is when so Todd is taken up to his old barber shop with Mrs. Lovitz, and then that's when like C like breaks the news, like basically saying that when he got sent to prison or whatever, like Judge Turbin basically took your wife to a party and basically raped her in front of everybody. And then he said like she got poisoned or supposedly got poisoned. Yeah.
what she said.
Yeah. So in his mind, and Sweeney Todd's mind, his wife is dead. And so it's just really just sends him up the wire.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then he's reunited with his niece, and he plans to kill Turbin. And then this is like probably another one of my favorite scenes in this movie. The way he rises up, and and that music builds up. And I don't think the composer of this was Danny Elfman, but that musical moment when he stands up reminds me a lot of like Batman.
Oh, absolutely. It builds really well. And I mean, right at the very pinnacle when he raises it and he like points it pretty much like, and you're looking through the window, what is playing? Dios Irae. He's holding his weapon. He's reunited, and they're
your blade, Sweeney.
Of death. Exactly. They're saying he is going to kill people with the thing he just picked up. We played the death theme. Like, it's so well done.
Yeah, and like I said, going back to the Tim Burton Batman, it reminds me of that part at the very end when it pans up the buildings, and then it goes do 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 do, and then when you see Batman in front of the bat symbol, that's when it goes ba 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 ba.
Yeah, they delay the heaviness.
Yeah, I just love that. It's you know it's heroic, and then it gets that dark like gothic theme. Like it's a very similar like theme or scene in
Yeah,
both
definitely.
films.
There are a lot of similarities between those two now that you bring it up.
Yeah, yeah. I just now thought about that. Like I did not think I didn't recognize how like when Todd is standing up, how like kind of like almost comic booky that theme or the music right there is.
Oh, absolutely, it is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in his mind, like every, I guess, good villain in his mind or or their mind is the hero technically.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, Sweeney Todd kind of views himself as, bringing vengeance, right? He
Oh
is kind of
yeah,
purging the city. He is in his mind doing the only thing that's necessary that he can do. Like,
yep. He is Vincent. He is a knight.
absolutely.
Yep. So then, we learned that Todd's daughter Joanna was adopted by Turbin, and the man or the boy on the ship, Anthony, kind of has the hots for her.
Hmm.
And then and he's kind of singing the song saying I want to be with you. I mean, I'm gonna steal you from from your trap. And then yeah, and then he meets up, or then Judge Turbin basically like sees him outside his house and he invites him in. um and then he's basically this is when you kind of get how or see how corrupt he is. He has all these books about all these sexual acts around the world, and Anthony's kind of blindsided by this.
Yeah.
It seems like because he didn't really know about this part of the world. He's very innocent in that fact,
Hmm.
and
That's
Turbin's
actually
kind of a
really cool.
pervert.
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite thing about that scene is once again like the music. Like when you're looking at um Sweeney Todd's daughter stuck up in the room, like it's shot so much. The imagery is all about a bird trapped in a cage.
Mm,
There's literally a bird in the room with her. The window looks like a cage. She's
mm,
sitting there looking out the window. And the music that they're playing is flutes, right? And
right.
anytime you're imitating birds and music, you use a flute just because it sounds birdy, right? And the
Yeah.
melody that the flutes are playing is the same melody you hear in the violins in the flashback in the previous scene
Oh,
when it's Sweeney Todd's wife. So you see the connection between those two characters in the musical motifs that are brought up, and that's just like beautiful storytelling.
yeah, and I think it's kind of interesting how like certain instruments get associated with certain things.
Absolutely.
Like when you think of like the saxophone, or when you hear the saxophone, it's kind of cool and kind of sexy.
Oh yeah, it's
You know,
sensual
yeah. When you think about the flute, it's kind of like heavenly and airy.
and chirpy and
Yeah,
happy.
yeah. So basically, Turbin finds out that Anthony, is very smitten with Joanna. He basically kicks him out, and he threatens him to kill him if he ever sets eyes on her again. So he's thrown out. So then it cuts to Todd and Lovett, and they're in they go to like this to this presentation that this Italian barber or just named Pirelli,
Uh-huh.
I think his name is, and
By
he's played by
Pirelli's
the
miracle elixir.
oh well that oh yeah no
By his miracle elixir.
yeah and this guy he's played by the fantastic Salsa Bear Conan, like really good character actor. You can go from like Borat to like King Julian and Madagascar to this to his character in Trial of the Chicago 7. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's an insane person. He he is one insanely good at embodying a character, right?
Mm.
So like think about Les Mis, Master of the House, that production.
Oh
He
yeah.
was so good at the innkeeper because like you believe that he's a scummy, skeezy innkeeper.
Mm.
At the same time, he does Borat, where you believe he's some guy from Kazakhstan or whatever,
It's
and
very
and he
nice.
Yeah, and he doesn't know anybody. And then he's good at playing Bruno, which is like
Right.
an Austrian designer who's super duper 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 gay. Like he's so good at getting
I don't know why
into
that made me
every
laugh.
single role that you believe it. And that's exactly the same thing he does in this role. He is so good at being a snake oil salesman that like
Right.
just believe it
Yeah, you actually
immediately.
believe that he's Italian because I
Oh,
believe.
absolutely. He's so good at it. I don't
Yeah, I believe
understand how he does.
he's British, right?
Yes.
That's, yeah, but you actually believe that he's an Italian. Yeah, he's Italian. It actually
You
caught me
believe
off guard.
whatever he says he is.
Yeah. So basically, Sweeney Todd gets in the competition with them to see who can give the fastest, smoothest save. And so Pirelli is basically as he's giving the save to this guy, like he's basically bragging about how great he is. And
Uh-huh.
he actually ends up losing, which is crazy.
Like fast too, like hard. He loses hard.
Yeah. And then it and then you see then Todd goes sees Turbin's assistant Beadle, played by, shoot, I can't remember the dude's name. He's from Harry Potter. It's like
Oh,
Timothy something.
yeah.
He was the guy that got turned to that was Ron Drat, and he found out he was that he was a human. He was like working for like Baltimore or
Pettigrew.
whatever.
Quick Google search gives me. Oh, what's the man's name? Oh, come on! You're just showing me the picture. I need the actor. Timothy Spall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So his assistant's played by Timothy Small, and of course Todd recognized him from his past, and they get acquainted, and he basically Beetle says, or the assistant says, his name is Beetle for whatever reason. He says that like, yeah, I heard you're a really good barber, or you seem like you're a really good barber. Like, I want to be at your shop in a week. So so then it cuts to Sweeney, he's waiting in his shop, and he just grows more and more impatient because he really wants to like
Mhm.
kill this guy and then get the turban.
Yep.
And then all the while, Mrs. Lovitz is basically saying, like, just be patient, like you're gonna group up a
Wait, just
little bit.
wait.
It's gonna, if you just wait a little bit longer, it's gonna be a lot better. You plan and scheme and strategize, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the whole time. And then really he's trying to get on to Todd. It's like he's like
Yeah.
kind of likes Todd, but he's just completely ignoring it. It's very much like Harley Quinn and Joker.
Yeah, that I think that's a really good comparison for a lot of reasons. Like Harley Quinn and Joker is really good. Joker doesn't really care about anything. Harley Quinn is convenient for him to be there. She does
Mm,
things for him on occasion. He doesn't care about her. He cares about being a menace and being crazy. Very similar to Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd's so wrapped up in his own madness, so wrapped up in
right.
his craziness that sure, he could have a nice, comfortable life with her. Like that's totally an option. She would love that. They would
Mm,
live happily ever after. He doesn't want happily ever after. He doesn't care about her. He wants revenge.
right. And that's the thing. And I think that's the thing with Joker, why he's so blinded by what Harley wants, because like he was dumped in a vat of like chemicals. So like
Mm-hmm.
there's no turning back. Like
You don't
he
care.
wasn't. Like he was just seduced by Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep coming back to Batman. Just Batman's just that awesome. And we gotta keep talking. I can talk about
I
them all the time.
mean, they're good comparisons. It's useful.
Yeah, and it's funny that he directed like two of the best Batman movies.
Absolutely.
Some might say Batman Returns is his best Batman. It's better than the '89 film.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about really good directors. They're very good at just building themes into the works they create, and like good themes reappear frequently.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I actually have the Batman Returns soundtrack from Mondo Tees. It's like a special edition. It's really cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, going back to the movie, um, Anthony meets Todd, in the shop, and he tells them about his love for Joanna. And then at this point, Todd is kind of connecting the dots about like,
Mhm.
oh, she's still alive, she's still out there. And Anthony wants to steal her from Turbin and asks Todd if he can keep her in her shop or in the shop, which is interesting. And then Pavarelli visits Todd and tells him that he's actually a fraud, and he's named Davy Collins, which is a very British name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Davy, like who names like
Right.
like what American has the name Davy? It's honestly
Not one.
yeah,
No.
yeah. And he also learns that he used to sweep up hair for Todd. And then Collins then threatens to blackmail Todd by making him give him half of his earnings, or he revealed that Todd's true identity. As being Vincent Barker, and tell him the whole
Right. The
backstory.
whole shebang.
Yeah. So then this is when Todd gets his first victim, because he straight up like kills like Pavarelli.
Mm-hmm.
No, he didn't kill him just yet. He like takes like the tea kettle and like beats him. And I think like somebody comes up, I can't remember, and then but he had like he has him hidden in like in a cabinet or whatever, and then
he kills him and puts him inside the box.
Yeah, and then he slices his throat.
Yeah.
Which is pretty gnarly. The blood in this movie is like awesome.
Oh, it's gruesome. It's amazing. It's so good.
So many spills out like.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you love blood in movies, like this is the movie to watch, because it is like it is glorious how much blood there in this movie. I know that makes me a sick bastard, but
no, I mean, no, it is. I mean, and it's not like it's blood for the sake of blood. I mean, it is. There is a lot of blood, but like, it's not just gore. It's like a really good storytelling device, and they're finding ways to deal with X and Y. Like, it's really good, and it's a thematic trope. Like, you see blood all throughout the movie, and it symbolizes death and it symbolizes life. Like, it's really well done.
Right, and I think it also kind of goes, to Burton's love of like Hammer, because those movies, unlike the Universal movies, were in color. And so they really needed to make them pop out, and they put a lot of blood. You actually, with Christopher Lee playing Dracula, you actually get to see like blood on his fangs, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Christopher Lee's my favorite Dracula of all time, because I love Bela Lugosi from the original, or from the Universal Classic. He was just too charming for me. He wasn't scary enough. Like Chris Lee, like he is scary and charming.
That is cool. Yeah. That's one of the
because he's charming.
You got to walk that line. Like, they got to be scary and charming so that they're like spooky but still enticing at the same time.
Really close second, I'm gonna go with Gary Oldman from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
he killed that role. And he's playing like different versions or different. He's playing like different parts of the character.
Yeah, different iterations, that kind of stuff. Putting their own twist. I respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though we keep going off,
it just happens. There's so many good references and so much good like literary history that goes into and builds up to a modern masterpiece.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, even though it's a Francis Ford Coppola film, it felt like a movie that Tim Burton would have done.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely in line with that kind of feeling and themes and
like really over the top. But anyways, we have Turbin, and he's in court, and he basically sends a little boy to prison. That's a really like dig that dagger into the throat.
Yeah, exactly. Like, show him he's bad. Twist the knife a little bit.
Yeah. It really just shows how like sleazy this guy is.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that court scene, he decides to marry Joanne, and he goes to Todd's shop to get cleaned up. And this is when Mrs. Lovett finds out what happened to Collins.
Mhm.
It's a really funny exchange. I wish I would have wrote down some of the lines because I thought it was really funny. It's got classic Tim Burton.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's so good at injecting that.
Yeah, and with that exchange, was that in the musical, or did they draw some of that dialogue from the musical, or from
Yeah,
the
so
stage?
yeah, in the stage production, there's a lot of like extra kind of like ambiance and set dressing that you
Mm.
get, and that is one of those things. So it is heavily drawn from that, inspired by.
Okay, cool. And then Turbin shows up to the stop, which leads into like one of the again another just like classic like scene from this movie is the pretty women scene,
Mhm.
which is
That is a
interesting.
masterclass in suspense. Like it is so good. The entire time you're just there, you're expecting him. Like the first time he goes in to shave
Mm,
the neck, like you're just expecting murder. You're
right.
expecting neck, and the whole time you don't get it, and it builds, and it just is so much more and more suspenseful.
Mm,
That is so well shot. It's so well done. It blows me away how good
right.
they are.
And it's cool because like the movie or the song is called Pretty Women, and they're
Yep.
and it's funny because Todd had a longing, for his wife, or he said, he's depressed that his wife got killed supposedly, and then he's longing to be with his daughter again, and then Judge Turbin, what he doesn't know what Todd didn't know, he's also singing kind of about Joanna, which is
Basically
interesting.
the same song exactly.
Yeah, he's like they're both longing for her. And it's interesting because a lot of this music, even if this is like technically a horror movie, a lot of the music is very like very elegant.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't realize how elegant a lot of the music was in this movie, and it's a really good contrast to it.
Exactly what it is. There is a whole bunch of the heavy, like really deep press, the
Mhm.
womp 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 womp. But there's also the really pretty parts, like you talk about in Pretty Women or Pretty Woman, where it's just the beautiful whatever orchestral kind of light stuff in the background, and then just singing over top of it. There is
Oh
both, and
yeah,
they heavily contrast.
yeah, and I also really really like how like Todd right before he gives the save, like basically straight up sings what
Mhm.
he's about to do, like
It's
right in
amazing.
front of. But I was sitting there watching that, like, okay, is he singing it out loud to where like Turbin can hear him, or is this like a quick like fantasy,
Right, yeah. Is
like
it
it
more
is
like a
like in more of
soliloquy?
his head,
Yeah, is it off to the audience as a fourth wall break?
right? Like it's like Turbin even aware about like what he's
Yeah.
saying, so that's kind of an interesting thing right there. And basically, like I said, he has a right where he wants him. He's about to like stab this motherfucker, basically.
Mhm.
Like he's about to give him, like he's about to go like Michael Myers on this dude.
Yeah, he's about to paint the walls red.
Yeah, or the window.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
window.
yeah. And then they're interrupted by Anthony.
Hmm.
And then Anthony tells Todd that Joanna, Beatty wants to be with them. And then Turbin, of course, with them being in the room, hears about this, gets upset, and tells Anthony that no man will ever look at her, and he's stormed out. And then Todd angrily tells Anthony to leave.
Hmm.
And then this is when it leads my favorite part of the whole movie, the song Epiphany. And this is this really like awesome like this kind of monologue kind of song where it basically like Todd basically just know, or he comes to the epiphany that like everybody's a piece of shit and they all deserve to die.
Yeah, and this is my favorite adaptation from the stage play. In the
Mm,
stage play, it is a straight up fourth wall break. Everybody's doing their own thing, and then Todd steps out and sings to the audience. He's looking right at the people. Everybody's
okay.
doing whatever behind him. He breaks the fourth wall and has his epiphany. And the way they show it in the movie is by having everybody stand still, basically frozen. They're talking with each other. They're not moving at all. And Sweeney Todd frantically moves between them all. And every time he switches between motifs, he goes from like
Mm,
the heavier parts to the light singing parts where he falls on his knees. Every single time he does that, he's still singing the death theme. He's still singing Dios
right.
Irae. So no matter what his brain jumps to, it's always death. Like he's going crazy and everything leads him to death. It is so good at illustrating somebody losing their mind and coming to the conclusion that death is the only solution.
Yeah, and I just love that when he's going around.
Chills. I got chills right now.
Oh yeah, me too, man.
So good. It is so good.
Yeah, and he's going around to like the streets of London. He's going around to like random people, and he's like, "You sir, you sir."
It's so good. It's
Yeah, and he
so
said,
good.
and he's like, "Sweeney's waiting." It's so ugh. And I know Johnny Depp has been in some controversy lately, and we're not, I won't get into that right now. But like, man, when he's good, he's really good.
Absolutely. Separating the artist from the art here, just purely the performance he puts on is
Mm.
it is chilling. It is so good.
Yeah, like he definitely deserved the Oscar nomination here. Like I said, he just like, and it is definitely like it's Captain Jack Sparrow became like a murderous psychopath. Like it's
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
much like that. It's like Captain Jack Sparrow in like an alternate dimension, kind of. In
Yeah,
a
yeah,
way.
absolutely. And I mean, I think there's a little bit of that which actually kind of lends itself to the actual character of Sweeney Todd himself.
Mm,
Because I mean, having Sweeney Todd have this little bit of, I guess I would call it eccentricism,
right.
where he's just a little bit interesting, which is how I describe Jack Sparrow. Jack Sparrow is a pirate who's very interesting. He's an eccentric pirate. Bringing some of that eccentricity into Sweeney Todd, I think is a really good touch.
Right, and then the fact that Depp can like go back and forth from like this vicious like killer to like maybe like an elegant person.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he can switch that. So then, it leads this, and then the song ends at this really funny part when it cuts to Mrs. Lovett, and he said, "Well, that's all well and good, but what we're gonna do about him?" Referring to Pirelli.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when it leads a really awesome song called what's the song called? I can't remember what it's called.
Oh,
It's
the
called like
actual
Cry Little Priest or something like that.
yeah.
But this is so I'll kind of continue what I was saying.
Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So this is a really awesome song with a lot of clever wordplay, and they basically comes to the conclusion that like, well, the best way to get rid of the bodies is like let's cook them in my meat pies.
Yeah, a little priest. You were correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have like lines like "men devouring man," "try little priest," "they don't commit sins of the flesh, so it's fresh." "The trouble with poet is how do you know it's deceased? Try the priest." Is that the squire sitting on the fire? We have supper pie. Pepper was actual supper. I'm come back when judges on the menu. Referring to
Right.
Turban, which is with a lot. But that was really an awesome line. And then the last line is, "We'll serve anyone to anyone at all."
It's so good.
Yeah, it's just clever wordplay. I love that so much.
Yeah, like you listed off a bunch of really funny lines throughout there. And I mean,
Mm.
it really feels like there are so many payoff moments in this musical. That is one of them where they're like, all right, we're just going to straight up say everything that's been going on. We're going to serve everybody to everyone. Like it like really, I love that part.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this particular scene, it's probably a lot better in like various stage versions of this. This is a very upbeat song. The visuals aren't upbeat. It's basically this Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter like staring out a window the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot more movement in the stage production,
Mm.
that kind of stuff. You see people like skirting by and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of more movement in the
Right,
stage.
right. Yeah, that's you're the only thing I don't like about it.
Yeah, it would be nice to get a little bit more motion in it. I agree.
Yeah. Well, especially, well, I guess he did. I guess Burton didn't want to like bog down audiences after Epiphany because it's very frantic with the editing.
Yeah, that is a good point. Just because, I mean, if you're thinking about the stage production, going from Epiphany to a little priest is you're going from a section of straight up one-on-one with the audience, the soliloquy of Epiphany, into now this more fast-paced a little priest, whereas it's basically the exact opposite in the movie. Epiphany is crazy fast-paced, and then little priest is the slowdown. So they kind of did had to mix up the pacing a little bit. I think that's probably exactly what they were doing.
Right. So then Turbin finds out that Joanna does not want to marry him, and he basically sends her off to an asylum for refusing to get married. So then we cut to this really cool, another really cool moment where Todd basically gets his shop ready to dispose of his dead bodies. He builds like a rig on the chair, like where he like tips people over, and then like their neck cracks when they hit the bottom. And
it goes back.
Yeah. And honestly, that was some of the parts that like really freaks me out in the trailers. Like all those close ups and like the creepy music. Like that part really freaked me out when I was a kid watching the TV spots.
Yeah, no, they definitely do a good job of making it creepy.
And then it leads to the murder spree. And again, it's like a lot like the Pretty Women song, where it's like like this, like something terrible is about to happen, but like there's like elegant music behind it, which is interesting. And I like how like every victim, he's just simply slashing people's throats like behind them, and then at the last one, like he has such a bloodlust that he just like slings it,
just slashes at him.
Yeah. I love that. I was
absolutely. And you already kind of touched on it, but like the juxtaposition between the beauty of the music and the horror of the act that's being committed is just amazing.
Right. And then we get to the Mrs. Love's meat pie scene, and then you learn that it's a big hit. And then this is when like it's like later in the movie, but like there's a part when like people like are picking, or like characters are picking up thumbs and fingers, which is really gross from the pie. And then forgot to mention Toby. Toby was Paparelli's little assistant
boy.
Yeah, and he was kind of part of like the scheme because he had like on a wig to kind of indicate that like his miracle elixir to grow back hair. Like,
to be fair though, that kid carried the show. Like without that kid, Pirelli is nothing. That kid sells everything. He is so good. He is the real champion of that wombo combo there.
Oh yeah, for sure. As good as Salsa Baron is, but
oh, absolutely. But like just in the world of in the world of Sweeney Todd, Sacha Baron Cohen's character just is all bluster, and this kid does all the work. This kid is like selling everybody on it. Like, I love that.
Yeah, so he's kind of one note or two note, but like this kid has to do like multiple things. It has to be funny. He has to be like scared out of his freaking mind.
I think that really goes to just show how like the character that Sacha Baron Cohen is playing is such a not very good guy. He's just a snake oil salesman who's making this kid do all the work while he comes in at the end and collects the bag. Like, it's so like both of them are playing the characters so well.
Right. And then in the middle of all this, you have that I think the song By the Sea is a whole fancy song about how Lovett just wants to get away from London with Todd and Toby and just having like a little mini family there. And it's very much like that Mad Love episode of Bat in the animated series. Because and that's like the origin story of like Harley Quinn. Because Harley Quinn was already introduced in the series. Yeah, and it kind of shows like how Joker kind of seduced her to the dark side, and then like how abusive he was, and then he just wants to like get away with them and have a family. It's kind of like that kind of stuff,
Absolutely.
which is pretty cool. I love that scene. It's so weird to see like those two characters in kind of like the gothic makeup with like Todd with like his crazy hair with like the white streak, like in like the beach, like
Yeah, no, it
so
does just
weird.
look funny. It is great.
Yeah, and he has like the Beetlejuice
Uh-huh.
like swimsuit, which is kind of like like I said, like a really cool callback to that film.
Yeah, nice little references. It's really well done.
Hey, I'd like to help you. I really would.
Hey, really well.
And then Toby gets on to Todd and Lovett, and Lovett sends Toby down to the basement to help her bake pies, but he actually locks him in there so he didn't escape and basically snitched on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Anthony, who poses as a wig maker's apprentice, and he goes to the asylum to rescue Joanna. And then he locks the owner of the asylum in with the inmates, which is a really like scary scene.
Yeah, I mean, a really funny, well, not funny, a really interesting thing about the whole show is, I mean, I think I read something that 13 out of 15 musical motifs in the whole show have the death theme. His is the only one that doesn't have it. So you kind of know from this get-go that he's going to survive and he's going to be basically a hero. And that's kind of how it
Anthony?
goes. Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just said he. Yeah. From the very get-go, his motif, no sense of death anywhere in it. It's pretty light. It's pretty nice. And he's kind of acts like a hero. It's really just like it shows how the music and the story play with itself really well.
Right, and I think it's funny because like I said, I have seen clips of the various stage musical. It's funny how in the original Ansel Lansbury version, that character, like he's in the classic sailor get up, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he's like in the little outfit.
Yeah, he had like the blue shirt with like the hat and like the little scarf or whatever.
Little ascot thing. I've got no idea what it is.
Yeah, I think it might be an ascot. I don't know, but
I just Fred from Scooby-Doo's got the ascot. That's all I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic sailor look. I like how the Anthony here, he's more historically accurate.
Yeah, I think if they had him like in that classical getup, he would just look weird compared to everybody else in the Tim Burton, because it's like a Tim Burton universe, right? Like,
right. Well, I think the original the Angela Lansbury one specifically, I think like the look of it and like the makeup or whatever was a little more over the top.
Oh, definitely, absolutely, it definitely fit in the original.
Yeah, this one is more kind of a little more historically accurate, but with that Tim Burton like flavor.
Yeah, it's got the grimness of Tim Burton, like the kind of like fanciful grim.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, like in the stage version like that. It's supposed to be a horror story.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. But then we have Beadle who comes to inspect Todd. Because due to complaints of like an awful smell coming from the chimney. And then Todd kills Beadle. And he throws him down to the basement. And then like that's when like as like Toby is finding out what's going on. Like Toby's like in the basement.
Right.
As he sees Beadle getting thrown in the basement. And that's how he knows, like, this Sweeney Todd guy, like, he's not a good guy.
Oh, they're baking people into pies.
Yeah. And like and that's a really good scene. Like, I think that's when like Toby finds like the finger in the pie or whatever.
Yeah, in the mix.
Right. And then he basically like runs away, and then Todd and Lovett goes looking for him in the sewers. And then Anthony brings Joanna up to Todd's shop, leaving her to go get a coach. And then a beggar woman who we kind of see throughout the movie, she's like really like crazy and thinks like Mrs. Lovis is like the devil basically. And like she's the one that keeps singing the city on fire.
Yep.
It was really kind of annoying with how high pitched it was. she comes up to the stop to check on Beadle to see what happened to him, and then Todd returns to the stop, and then the beggar woman warns them of how evil Lovitz is, and then Todd kills her. Like it's great enough to kill her, like.
Yep.
And then after that, or then he sends her down into the basement.
Down to hatch.
Yep. And then Judge Herman comes up to the stop to look for Joanna. And she's hiding in a little cabinet area that Pirelli was in earlier in the movie. And then Todd offers him another save. And he says that Turbin comes to the conclusion that he's Benjamin Barker. Or no, that he finds out that he's Benjamin Barker. I think he tells him. And then he stabs him like quite violently in the throat, and like the blood that goes all over Todd, and then like on the window. It's pretty gruesome, but it's pretty glorious.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to be fair, that is kind of like what the entire movie was building to, right?
With that right there. And then we have Todd, who finds out that the beggar woman that we see throughout this movie was actually his wife. And she, I guess, got messed up by what Turbin did to her. I guess they didn't really explain that. I guess I'm assuming they explained it more in the stage version.
Yeah, I've always been a little bit fuzzy on that one. I'm pretty sure it's just like she just kind of went mad with grief. She kind of went crazy. Like she kind of like shut in, didn't talk to anybody, distanced herself from everybody, and like, wasn't able to support herself, that kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, she did have everything taken to herself, and she was abused in public. Like, It's not a good hand of cards to be dealt.
Yeah, you're gonna go a little stir crazy.
Can't blame her for going a little off.
Yeah. And then Lovitz, and then Todd finds out that Lovitz knew about this the whole time.
He knew.
He didn't tell him.
She was keeping it from him.
Yeah, because he felt guilty about that. I totally forgot about that whole thing. Because the first time I only watched it like 2 times. First time, like, okay, what's the relevance to this beggar woman? And then I remember, and then I saw the second time, like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, absolutely, very important.
Yeah, and this is probably like one of the more messed up scenes in the whole movie. Like Todd throws her in the oven, burning her to death.
Right in.
Yeah, just right in. I'm like, ooh, this is messed up.
After she tells him, he picks her up, they start dancing, pretending it's all okay, and then yeets her right in. Like it is messed up.
Yeah, it is something, all right. It's quite graphic. Like they don't shy away from it because.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I tend to more like horror movies, like psychological horror movies where you don't see a lot going on, but like you get to stuff like this or like John Carpenter's The Thing where like it's like in your face gory. Like I think that really pops out. Like if you can do like that kind of stuff, like right, and not just have gore just to have it.
Exactly. Like when it's done right, oh my God, it's so visceral. And like it draws such powerful emotion because it is gore that like when it's not overdone, it is so powerful.
Right, for sure. And then we have Todd standing over his dead wife, and then Toby comes up from out of the sewer and like slits his throat with one of the knives, and like Todd just bleeds all over like his wife, which is like really sad to see. Even though he's a murderous psychopath, but it's still like it's how tragic it is. He was just a normal guy. This Judge Turbin guy basically screwed it all up. Made Todd and his wife go stir crazy, and he made him into a murderous psychopath, and it's ended badly for him.
Yeah, I mean, it is really one of those things where it's like pretty much everybody in that show gets what they deserve, except for like Todd's wife, the beggar woman. Like she is the ultimate victim in the show, in my opinion. Like she didn't deserve none of that. None of that should have happened to her. she only got bad things happen to her repeatedly, and then she was killed. Like, she's the ultimate victim. Everybody else either is a good person and has a pretty good outcome, or is a bad person and dies. Like Sweeney Todd, regardless of like how tragic of a figure he is, he's objectively a villain. He is the demon barber of Fleet Street.
Right, but again, like I said, in his mind, he's sort of a superhero. He's sort of
absolutely.
He's sort of like Travis Bickle, but like a lot like more messed up from like Taxi Driver. Like Robert De Niro from Taxi Driver. Like, because again, it was kind of like he just saw the world of the messed up place, and he took the law in his own hand, basically. Yep. But it ended up turning out okay for him.
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah, but yeah, and then it leads to the credits, and then like the somber music just was perfect for
what you just saw, what you just experienced.
So let me ask you a question. This version of the story is like very graphic. Is any of the stage musical versions of this like even come close to how graphic this is, or is it pretty subdued?
The essence of what they're doing is very similar. Like it's not like they're changing the story or anything. Like it's going to be fairly similar, like along pretty much every line between production. The main advantage that you get in film is it is so much easier to cover a scene in blood in film. Like there is fake blood. You can use fake blood in shows.
Right.
But like between scenes, you have to clean that blood up now, where there's just blood on the floor forever.
Right.
And one of the key things about theater, which people
it's like a boxing match, basically.
Yeah, exactly. One of the most important things about theater is you can't give the audience something to fixate on. So like if you walk in and you drop a piece of paper on set, that is a huge nightmare. You have to get that off, because the audience will stop focusing on what's going on and they'll focus on that piece of paper. If you cover the floor in blood, they're going to stop paying attention, and you have to focus on the blood now. It's just what the brain does. So they get way less leeway in playing with blood and playing with all that kind of stuff in the stage productions.
Yeah, that's like how like it's kind of the same thing with film, because like, you know, of course in film there could be continuity errors like in one shot.
Absolutely.
Like I think in like an Alien in Aliens, it cuts to like one scene, and then Sigourney Weaver has like a headset on, and then it cuts back to her. She has it off, but like you gotta think like they're doing two different takes.
Definitely, and those could have been days apart even. So like,
yeah. My mom is really good at noticing that kind of stuff in movies.
Have you ever seen the movie Stripes?
Stripes. That's that Bill Murray one when they go into the Navy or the military.
Absolutely. Yep, in the military. There's a scene in Stripes where one of the guys is sneaking out and the other guy's like on top of him, like shaking him, trying to get him to stop. And he's got like a duffel bag in front of him, then behind him, then in front of him, then behind him, then in like 4 different shots. It just keeps bouncing back and forth between like 2 messed up continuity errors.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's blatantly apparent too the second you notice it.
Yeah, apparently in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean, you get to see in the background, in like one of the shots, you see somebody with like sunglasses or like a or like headphones or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, I need to look for that. I haven't seen that. That's funny.
It's pretty funny. But let's go on to themes for this movie real quick.
Yeah,
what are some themes some themes? It can be like musical themes or like just like story themes. What are some themes you noticed in the movie?
The big themes that I noticed were obviously death, the Dios Irae thing, the dun 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 dun, like that. That motif is done so many times throughout the show, and once you listen to that, and once you start picking up on the Dios Irae like notes, you will start to hear it constantly. And if you pay attention to when it's used, it basically spoils the entire show. You see it when he picks up the knife, whenever he sees certain people, you know who's going to die based on who gets that theme song. You know who's going to live based on who doesn't get it. You know how he's going to kill things. You see it the second he picks up the knife. The theme of death is pervasive throughout the movie. And the other thing I would say is not as pervasive, but is similar in its, ubiquity in the film, is how it kind of focuses about I wouldn't say the subversion of expectations, but it focuses on taking what you'd expect from the film or from a song and showing you something that is completely different. So like you were talking about in the Pretty Woman song, you're expecting, your brain is ready for just gruesome murder, blood, and the whole time it's just shaving. It's so good at building suspense without showing you all that much, that is one of the most moving things about the show to me, just how good it is at building that suspense.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to another theme, I mean, revenge is like, this is like a straight revenge movie.
Absolutely.
And it talks and like a lot of revenge movie, revenge can get messy and it can be blinding. Because
what is that saying? When you set out on revenge, you better dig 2 graves, one for him and one for yourself. Like,
yeah, because Todd is so blinded on his mission to kill Turbin that he, loses his family basically. Like, he kills his wife, and then Joanna runs away with Anthony.
Yeah, it is the definition of tragedy.
Right, and he also doesn't see that Lovett loves him, and he wants to have a life with them.
Yeah, that is one of the most tragic parts of the whole show. Like that. What was the song? You mentioned it right before the end.
By the Sea.
By the Sea. Yeah, By the Sea is absolutely that song where like he has a way out. He has the option to just say no violence, no revenge, nothing. You can just live the happy life. And he chooses violence. He chooses revenge.
Right. And they could have been like the perfect, like, Hot Topic gosh couple.
Absolutely. They would have been a mood. Everyone would be like, #mood. They're so cute. But
yeah, and alas. And that's like Sweeney Todd and Mrs. Lovett seem like a really popular like couples costume, like around Halloween time.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, no, I mean,
it's not as popular like Joker or Harley Quinn.
I need to do that right now. I just I didn't realize I needed that in my life, but next Halloween I will be Sweeney Todd and I will find someone to be.
I mean, you have the hair for it. You have a hat on right now, but like you have a hair.
Oh, I got it cut. It's a little short now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I got to start growing it out immediately so I can get this costume.
Well, yeah, and that's why that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do Sweeney Todd with you. It's because I remember the first day you walked into Staples for your interview, I commented on your hand and you said you look like Sweeney Todd. And we just got into a conversation about musicals.
Oh yeah, no, I had the big ol' like, yeah, I think since the pandemic was really swooped up, I just stopped getting haircuts as often. I used to get them like every 3 months. I think I get one once every like 6 months now, once every 8 months. It's crazy.
I go once a month. It's a lot more easier to manage when it's short.
Oh yeah, that's the respectable way to do it. That's what a normal human does, but nah, I like to change, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, my when we were in London, because I went, I don't know if I told you this before, but me and my dad's family, we went to Europe, and my cousin, he went to a barber shop in London, like right across the street from our Airbnb, and they like in the ready room, they actually offered them like alcohol.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Yeah, I guess it's like only in England, I guess. I guess that's a very like European thing to do.
It is. They're big drinkers over there. I might get the chance to visit London in May of this year.
Yeah.
So if I do, I will definitely be going to hopefully try to visit that barber shop you mentioned.
Yeah. If you definitely take a picture of the street sign.
Oh, definitely I will. Absolutely.
Yeah,
no shot I won't.
Yeah. Then going back to the theme of revenge being messy and blinding, and the end of the movie, Todd gets killed by Toby, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is absolutely like he is so self-absorbed, so focused, so single-minded in his tasks that, I mean, like it could have been anybody who just walks up casually behind him. Like he really does himself in there. You're correct.
Right, and it's kind of forever gets Toby, because that was like his assistant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of his rival, and then his assistant to Mrs. Lovett's, or Mrs. Lovett's assistant. Because Toby, Toby didn't really have an interaction throughout this movie. Really, they don't at all.
Yeah, no, you're correct. I never really thought about it, but he does kind of come out as like the reluctant hero. You know what I mean? Like he you see the scene where he is literally discovering how the sausage gets made, if you will. Like you see him put the dots together and be horrified at what's going on, and he runs away or whatever. And he realizes what he has to do. He's like, well, I got to stop it. Like he is a reluctant hero in a way.
Yeah, that now that you say that, it always makes me wonder when like in like horror movies and like a character is finding out like horrific stuff, or they have to like act scared. Like I want to know like what are some methods like these people kind of come up with?
Oh yeah, I mean, fear is probably like I've done a little bit of acting, like I was in productions of Hamlet. Like I've done
Oh, who'd you play?
Guildenstern.
I don't know who that is. I'm not familiar with a lot.
Yeah, Guildenstern and Rosencrantz are the two buddies of Hamlet who
Oh
are
yeah.
basically working for the dad, the king, and trying to like convince Hamlet to go do exactly what the king wants. So they're kind of bad guys.
That was first on Miss Weber, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was her on drama teacher back in high school.
Oh, she's a gem.
Yeah, didn't you do Hamlet in like a different time period though?
No, we did Hamlet in time in set. Like we had to put on ye old beard, and we were wearing doublets.
Really, that's awesome.
And like in leotards and stuff. Like it was definitely weird. Putting on like the spirit gum beard was awful. It like sticks to your face and pulls off the top layer of skin. It's fun. But I mean, fear is one of the hard ones. Like, I mean, it's a very easy way to get excited. It's very easy to like emulate love just because everybody's had a crush on somebody, right? It's easy to remember that. But like getting yourself into a state of mind of being afraid is really difficult, and like, or afraid and disturbed.
Well, I think everybody has been scared to some degree, just not like.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like I was watching the intro to Scream right before we came on. It's like, how does Drew Barrymore get into that mindset?
Yeah, and I'm sure it's easier when you're working with other actors, right? If you are working with somebody in a costume or whatever, if you're working with somebody where they can give you inputs to like for you to react against. But if it's just like be afraid, like that's way harder, like just straight up than like.
And I would imagine that they would have somebody like when they were making that movie during the phone calls, they would have somebody off screen doing the ghost face voice.
Oh, surely. Like, there's got to be something there.
Yeah, because none of the actors, like, while they were filming it, and then for the longest time, never actually seen the voice of Ghostface like, at all.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, there's got to be some way that they've got to have something to act against, because that's one of the hardest things, having nothing to act against, you know, just acting into a void.
Yeah, but I know the kids in, like, the last It movie, like, they said that they're so scared by Bill Skarsgård dressed up as Pennywise that like that was their motivation. Could you
I completely
physically
believe that.
do all that stuff?
Oh, absolutely. That is some terrifying stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that would horrify me because he was quite scary.
Absolutely. Well, incredibly well done.
Yeah. I had problems with that version because I've actually read the book. Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's some suspicious stuff about the book, but whatever. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, another theme in the movie is corruption of like the rich and powerful, and how they can use that. How certain people can use that power like worse in society.
Yeah, I mean,
you see that with Turban.
Yeah, it kind of points out how like in the real world that we exist in, unfortunately, the only actual superpower that exists is being wealthy, right? Having a bunch of money is the same thing as having a superpower, right? Like you can just do things which normal people can't do. And so it really does drive home that point in certain ways where like he can seem to kind of do whatever he wants. He can ruin people's lives, and he actively does multiple times. You see him do it.
Yeah, we saw that with unfortunately Harvey Weinstein, because he was just this powerful producer, and he basically was your opportunity to get a certain role or not.
Yeah, he would gatekeep people completely out of the industry. They'd get blacklisted if they don't do exactly what he wants. It's
right, exactly. And that's the thing about it. It's like what Uncle Ben and then even Aunt May said in Spider-Man, is like with great power comes great responsibility. You either have the choice to use your power and well for the better, which some people do, and then you have it to worsen people, that make people's life horrible. Which unfortunately happens a lot more. We see it happen a lot more.
Yeah, we're definitely exposed to a lot more of that. I mean, the adage is true: power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I mean,
Right.
if there are truly no repercussions for your actions, you're probably going to end up doing bad things just because there's no reason not to. Like that just happens time after time after time.
Yeah, well, luckily justice was served to Mr. Weinstein, which I was glad.
Amen.
Yeah, that dude
Amen.
need to rot in prison forever and ever.
Please, please, please lock him up under the prison, throw away the key.
Yeah, basically. But anyway, let's get to my thoughts real quick. I want to start on this one since you're my guest. So like, what's your overall thoughts about this movie? Just real quick.
Yeah, real quick. Overall thoughts. It is one of my favorite adaptations of a stage play into a musical. Like as far as just comparing it to other ones, I mean, personally, I think it's way better than Les Mis. Les Mis's stage production, in my opinion, is so much better than the movie that it isn't even close. The movie's really good, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the artistic decisions and designs they make, I feel like detracts a bit from the actual storyline. Whereas every decision I think that Tim Burton made and Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, all of the decisions that they made with their characters, I think it all really served the overall theme that they were building.
Right. Well, you got Tim Burton versus like Toby Hooper or what?
Absolutely, yeah.
No, it's Tom Hooper. Because Tim Burton
yeah.
has like a distinct style. Like
Definitely.
Tom Hooper doesn't really, or he kind of does, but he's not like as distinct as like Burton.
Definitely. And I think having that distinct style, having that vision in mind meant that the whole thing felt a lot more inclusive, if that makes sense. It felt like everything fit together really well.
I will say Anne Hathaway's version of I Dreamed a Dream is like the best version of that song I've ever heard.
Oh, it's incredible. I would say as like a theater nerd, I don't like it when people actually cry while they're singing.
Really?
Because it messes up the biomechanics of singing. Like one of the very important things about singing is having a lot of resonance, and that happens through the sinuses. So when somebody's crying, it shuts down the resonance heavily. And so I prefer the stage version of that song way more.
I disagree. I get what you're saying. I totally disagree with that because it's just where that character's at that moment.
Oh yeah, no, it's very depressing. I think as far as like a movie goes, her version is better. I think as far as a musical goes, the stage production is better because a musical is supposed to be, which is the fundamental assumption of musicals. You should be able to listen to all of the music like just on your own and have an enjoyable experience. And I think that's where the movie lacks a little bit. It doesn't sound as good as the stage production.
And that's the thing. Every other version of that song, like it's sung way too beautifully.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah. Kudos to those singers, but like when Hathaway sings, you really feel it. It's like when Johnny Cash sings "Hurt." Like the Nine Inch Nails version is great, but like you really feel it with the tone of like Johnny's voice.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely a stylistic decision, and I think if you're coming at it from the perspective of a movie, it's probably way better. If you're coming at it from the perspective of a musical purist, like just the stage production with like fake tears is better, but that's just because you're trying to say, well, how do I make it sound as good as possible? And it's rather like hidey-tidy. So I definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure. My quick thoughts. I love this movie. I think it has a really really cool like, Tim Burton look. With a Hammer horror movie feel. I think Johnny Depp is perfect as Sweeney Todd because he's had that little bit of that swagger that you like from him, but he's also can be really scary. Alan Rickman is excellent at the sinister Judge Turbin. Because he's just evil. Also, when you and this I don't recommend in general. Like when you just see him in a movie like Die Hard or Harry Potter, Robin Hood, this movie, it's like you see him, he's like a lot like Christopher Lee in this way, where like you just see that person and he drips with this evilness.
Yeah, just the pure emotion he can put off is incredible. Like in my opinion, he's got the inverse of the Johnny Depp, where Johnny Depp has always got his interesting swagger and he always injects that into whatever role, where Alan Rickman is just like the pure emotion of whatever character he gets lost in, and like he embodies that so much that like it's incredible watching him do anything.
What I like about Alan Rickman and why he makes the perfect villain. It's like it's his voice.
Absolutely,
it is his voice. It's like, hello, my name is Hans Gruber. Give me my detonators. And he's so monotone, and like but like you see him as like Hans Gruber, and he's like doing these terrible things, and he's like this terrorist guy, but like he's so charming too.
So good at it. He's so good at it.
Yeah, he's so good at it. How do you do it?
It's incredible. Like we truly one of the greatest losses we've had in recent memory as far as just acting prowess. It really makes me sad.
And earlier that week we lost like David Bowie too, which was
no, it was brutal.
Yeah. And then my favorite song is Epiphany, because it's just Sweeney's like his mental breakdowns, his editing is excellent, the acting from Depp is amazing. And then, like I said, the chemistry with Todd and Love It is really cool. It reminds me of Joker and Harley's toxic relationship in the Batman universe.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Those are some really good points, especially about Epiphany. Like that song is so good.
Yeah, it's really good. So you're a big musical guy, like we established. Where'd you rank, not this particular version, but the musical in general, like in your favorite musicals? Like, would it be in your top 5, top 10? Where would you put it?
Definitely in the top 10. Definitely in the top 10. I'm trying to figure out if it's top 5 right now.
That's a hard one.
It's very hard. There's so many good musicals. Actually, yeah, I think it beats Phantom of the Opera out in number 5. I think it's my top 5. Yeah.
Oh, Phantom's my number 1 favorite musical of all time.
Phantom is phenomenal. For some reason, the music just never emotionally connected with me like other songs did. But like the technical masterpiece, like just the dun 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 dun, like that all I love. But the rest of it kind of got lost on me.
Oh, I need to tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
So back when my mom dated my stepdad at the time, and like before they got married, we went over at his apartment and he had the Phantom of the Opera CD, and this, when he put it in, it was with the auction scene, and as soon as it went da 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 da, like I jumped down my seat and ran down the hallway. It scared the crap out of me.
Oh man, that stuff is so good.
Yeah. So I would say Phantom, my number 1 favorite musical of all time, and probably Grease, because I grew up with that.
Yeah, Grease is in my top 10. That's for sure. I love Grease.
Yeah,
Grease 2 isn't worth anything, but Grease
I haven't seen that one.
Don't. It's sad.
Yeah, probably Les Mis, probably number 3, the film version. Number 4, maybe Sweeney Todd, maybe. Because just Johnny Depp's a freaking beast. And number 5, gotta go either Lion King or Beauty and the Beast. It's hard.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Les Mis is definitely number 2. For me, my whole musical life was changed when I listened to Hamilton. Really? And
that's like rap hip hop music, right?
Some of it. So there's a mixture. There are certain songs like Burn, like everything that King George sings. He's got 2 songs. There are songs which are classical musical songs. There are also songs which infuse a lot of rap. Like Hamilton carries the Broadway record for the fastest like words in X amount of time. Like it's the part that says I'm taking this horse by the reins with red coats, red of the bloodstains, and I'm never gonna stop till I make a drop of burn but scatter the remains. So it's Lafayette rapping about murdering redcoats in the Revolutionary War. And it is really good. So if you at all like musicals, there's something in it for everybody. If you don't like musicals, you're still probably going to like Hamilton. My dad doesn't like musicals, and he loved it.
Yeah, you get like rock musicals. like Rock of Ages, or
I was about
even
to say
like
Rock of
Phantom
Ages
of the
is so good.
Opera to a certain extent. And you got your classics like Annie, Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain, West Side Story. Which I heard the new one's amazing. You do the snap.
Oh yeah. Anytime West Side Story, my brain just goes snap, snap.
So quick question: if you can write any musical ever, what would it be about? Like, what would be like your dream musical you want to like would want to make?
So a dream musical that I would want to make, it would be definitely something about, I don't know, that's a tough question. You would have a lot of like heavier musical instruments, because recently I've been discovering that the parts in Hamilton, which are really speaking to me recently, there's heavy brass in it. Womp, 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 womp. So I would do a lot of brass, maybe something about like the 1920s, 1930s, just because that time period with like the flappers and ragtime music is
like the Great
really
Gatsby, maybe?
Say again?
Like the Great Gatsby, the musical?
That is a really good idea. I think
I did not like that book at all. That was kind of a weird book for me.
Yeah, I the first time I read Gatsby, I was like, eh. The second time I read Gatsby, I was like, I really like this. The third time I read Gatsby, I was like, this is kind of weird. Why did he do that? Like, there's so many strange decisions in Gatsby, but like,
my dream musical would be like kind of like Walker Bases, like what it did for like 80s rock. It's a musical with 80s rock. I would do it with like 70s rock. And then like open it up with Meatloaf's Bad as Hell. Because I've listened to that song so many times. Every time I listen to it, like I always had like this scene of like this up and coming like rock singer with his band, like in like New York or LA, like in the mid 70s, like singing that song in like a beaten up club. Like I just had that pictured in my head every time I hear that song, and I see like different shots in my head.
If you've got it pictured in your head and you've got a clear vision, can't hurt to write it out.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there already is a musical set to Meatloaf's music.
Well, you can borrow things.
Yeah.
I think that's allowed.
Yeah. Oh, and that's another guy we lost recently. The guy that wrote a lot from Meatloaf's songs, Jim Sarman, I think his name is.
Yeah, not familiar.
Yeah, he's very like a theatrical, like kind of like songwriter.
Right.
Check him out. Yeah, he's really good.
Cool. Very interesting.
Yeah, but anyways, man, thanks for being a part of my video. Like I said, I'm gonna try to have a lot more guests from here on out, and not just have Eric, all my videos. Even though I like talking with Eric, but yeah, I know you guys get kind of tired of them sometimes.
Yeah, no, I absolutely appreciate having me on. I really do appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to talk to you.
Yeah, next time we're gonna have to do like another like horror kind of sci-fi musical, but like not like some you would expect.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we should do, honestly, I think next video we should do Phantom of the Paradise.
I haven't seen that actually.
I haven't seen it either.
Could be fun.
Yeah, it's like from what I'm told, it's like Phantom of the Opera, but the Phantom, he owns a like a 70s disco club called the Paradise.
Interesting. Oh, wait, before we go, have you seen Little Shop of Horror?
Yes, I watched that recently.
That one is so good. I don't know why I feel like you would like that, so I was making sure you've seen it.
Yeah, and I like it because it's kind of like that classic like horror that I kind of gravitate to.
Absolutely.
And plus, I love that the "Feed Me" song.
Oh, is it "Feed Me, Seymour"? Yeah, that was so good.
That was so good, and they're remaking it too.
Really?
Yeah, apparently Chris Evans is going to be the dentist, and Scarlett Johansson's going to be Audra. That's crazy.
I guess I'll wait and see how that is.
I mean, Chris Evans, even though he's Captain America, he played some terrible characters. You've ever seen Knives Out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he's the
actually
bad guy in
haven't.
that.
I've heard good things though.
Yeah, it's really good. Like Daniel
Yeah,
Craig
that's
should have been
all I've heard.
nominated for that movie.
Maybe I should watch it.
It's really good. It's on Amazon Prime if you have that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll probably watch it then.
Yeah, it's really good. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching our video for Sweeney Todd. If you liked the video, make sure you thumbs it up and share it. This has been Drew from Horror Sci-Fi Beyond with my friend Tanner, and over and out. Bye.